The modern medical system is something that developed over a long period of time and that continues to develop to this day. But even though doctors and hospitals continue to gain clear understandings of how our bodies work and develop better tools for diagnosing and treating disease, we as a nation are getting sicker. Heart disease, autoimmune disease, and cancer are all on the rise, not to mention conditions that are largely preventable, such as obesity and diabetes. For the first time in our history, the life expectancy of the next generation will be shorter than that of their parents. And so in the face of this contrast between the rise of our medical system and the decline of our health, we're forced to wonder what gives. We've developed a healthcare system that is so brilliantly refined and complex that the average person is content to just place their well-being in the hands of medical experts. And in doing so, we've largely abandoned any personal responsibility for our health and well-being. We're content to just suffer along until something is broken and then go to the doctor to fix us. But the truth of the matter is that health is about so much more than just not being sick. It's about living our lives to the fullest, highest quality possible. So how exactly do we do that? In order to answer that question, I'd like to go back through the history of the medical system, back to an ancient system of medicine that continues to be practiced to this day, Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a Sanskrit word that roughly means the study of life. And over the course of 5,000 years, the practice of Ayurveda has developed a system of medicine that empowers everyday people to understand how every aspect of our life, how we eat, how we sleep, where we live, what we do for work, what we do for fun, directly contributes not just to our physical, but to our emotional, mental, and spiritual health. It tells us that we don't just have to sit back helplessly waiting for disease and ailments to strike, but rather, by taking the time to understand how our environment affects our health, that we can excel at living. And isn't that what being a Boulderite is all about? So, in order to understand Ayurveda, it's critical to understand and explain the tridoshic theory. Ayurveda says that every person is made up of a unique combination of 3 elemental substances, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and that the proportion of these elements are what determine each of our temperaments and characteristics. Our individual ratios of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha determine things like our body type, our energy levels, and our preferences to everything from foods we like to eat to what our ideal vacation is. It tells us that our balanced state of health is different than our neighbors, and what might be good for one of us may be bad for another. Another thing that Ayurveda teaches is that everything in this world is comprised of qualities or characteristics called gunas, which are expressed in terms of opposites, such as hot, cold, wet, dry, heavy, light, static, and mobile. And as we begin to see the world in terms of these qualities, we can seek out opposites to balance ourselves. This is Jerry. Jerry has all the doshas, but he tends to lean towards Vata. He's tall and skinny, very lively and energetic, and very creative, but generally, he's very affected by the shifts in the world around him. Now, we said that everything in the world is made up of gunas, and that includes Jerry. As a Vata-predominant person, we see in him the qualities associated with Vata: cold, light, dry, irregular, mobile. And now, as we're coming into the winter months, we're seeing changes in the weather that are manifesting as cold and dry. And as these qualities build up, we start to see an imbalance. Jerry notices that his hair and skin are becoming dry and rough. And with his new job, Jerry's found himself drinking more coffee, which is bitter and mobile. And pretty soon, what started out as dry skin has turned into a feeling of anxiety. And Jerry is noticing that his appetite is very irregular. And now he's eating all over the place, and his schedule is going to hell. And all of these qualities are pushing Jerry to become more and more imbalanced. So what can he do? Well, if he's like most people, he'll just assume that irregular diet and low-level anxiety are no big deal, and he'll skip some meals and go to the doctor to get prescribed Xanax. But even then, if his anxiety continues to go unchecked, he'll continue to build up and become even more susceptible to more serious conditions. But if Jerry were to take a look at Ayurveda, he'd realize that there are steps he can take to balance himself back out. Jerry needs to slow down, take time to get on a regular schedule, which is critical for Vata. And he should cut down on the coffee and eat foods that are warming, nourishing, and grounding, like casserole. Now, rather than relying exclusively on prescription drugs to push down the symptoms of disease, Jerry's beginning to understand how the choices that he makes directly contribute and affect the causes of his conditions. Pause. It's been 5 years since I moved to Boulder to study Ayurvedic medicine under a lineage that's been passed down over 5,000 years. And tonight, I've attempted to give you an overview of that learning in 5 minutes, so please excuse the oversimplification. But in closing, I want to reiterate how grateful we should all be to the modern medical system. And my hope is that as we advance into the future of medicine, we can also take time to look into the past to understand how individuals, we can reclaim responsibility for our own health and well-being. Thank you.